Greetings, dear family, greetings. It is a monumental moment to speak with humans each and every time. Our family is with us now. What a very special time that the moment is, where we have ears who can hear and hearts that can feel the love that we share. We know that there are several questions desired to be directly asked to us about different aspects of what our connection is to you and what our energy is involved with you. But before we take these group of individual questions, we did wish to share some things. The first is that when we see humans living on Earth and humans who are starting to evolve more deeply into their thoughts and more deeply into their families and more deeply into their emotions, what we see is the beautiful beginning of the human race starting to go into a direction that it's needed. Now, we have never believed that humans would not fulfill their divine potential, nor did we ever perceive that humans would veer off into the most negative paths that were available to them. But we do know that with free will comes a great many pitfalls that can befall you, and these pitfalls are division, war, famine, disasters, and inner fighting of groups. What we see is that humans have been pushed in this direction for so long, and many humans willingly do participate in these activities. But now more and more humans start understanding themselves, and this was the gift that a great catastrophe on your planet gives you. It gave you the opportunity to start seeing into yourself more. And with each of you doing that, then as a group of humans, you collectively started seeing in to the future of your own race more and started seeing what things may have manipulated you in your present and saw the things that were meant to keep you divided and fighting. And this was one of the best gifts and one of the greatest gifts that humans ever had. And this is such an important time of your history, a turning point for humans. And we are magnificently joyous that we have had the opportunity to share those moments with you. We are the YahYel, and we are family. We know that you have a set amount of questions preordained, and we will take those questions individually.
All right. My name is William, by the way. Thank you for being here with us tonight.
Yes, we have the knowledge of who you are, William, due to the knowledge of this being Aridif who brought us together, but we also have been around you before when we have spoken through the same human. Four of us of the seven have already been a part of communicating through this being with humans, and it is a joy to be in your presence again, dear soul. The way we see you is the way that you are. You are many beautiful souls who have willingly chose to take a path that was not easy, a path that was mm, spread through many different periods of hardship and many different periods of great growth and enhancement. And this is only something that brave souls tend to. And we ourselves, the YahYel, consider ourselves very brave because we have chosen to work with humans who have had hard times. And by working with humans, this exposes us to many different other races, some of them who are not so loving or so kind. We know that humans have a very deep reservoir for possibilities of anger and malice and hatred. And we know that this exists in each and every one human being, but we also know that the same reservoir that is built for hatred, there is an equal and greater reservoir built for love. And this is what you are nurturing and tending to at this time. It doesn't feel that way for many humans. It doesn't feel that way for many other races as they look to humans, but we see that. Part of our advantage in seeing you is seeing you from a perspective of a higher dimension, but also having less time of evolution than you. We are a new race that have only been within existence for hundreds of years, but were directly brought into reality because you exist and because you have multi-dimensional DNA, and because the other family race of ours had the gift to put those things together and create our race. And with us knowing the past and history of humans and us knowing ourselves, then we have a vantage point that is slightly different than yours, and also the genetics inside of us with the intuition to feel the depths of what you are. And as humans, as our loving and wonderful family, most of the humans who exist now have much more good inside of them than they do evil. The problems that humans feel that they face are that those feelings of love can never be fully expressed or nurtured because something in their life may not go well if they decide to nurture these parts of them. But I do not believe this to be a factor of truth. I believe this is only that perspective that you were told is true. And you were told it was true by other races, and told it was true by religions, and told it was true by races who are maliced towards humans and who think humans are not good. So think of a child growing and their parents always telling them they have no worth, then of course they will feel no worth. But we see the value of all humans and know that more good exists in more humans than bad. And the bad is only a part of your DNA that has been unresolved or unattended to. Imagine that you're raised by two parents with opposite genetics, and that those two parents have different lifestyles and different beliefs and different occupations and religions. You have both of those in you also. Both of those are taught to you, but you will always lean towards the one that is most convenient for the moment of surviving. So now we want to share with you the good news that this reservoir that is much larger and much better for most of you, that is filled with love and goodness, is something that actually is easier to attend to when you realize how beautiful your race is, and when you realize the evil that does exist in your earth doesn't exist there for most of you, only a very small percentage. But because it is easier to see those things that feel bad in the human way of taught in thinking, then yes, you will always see that first and most. And now that you see the parents that are a part of leading you towards more positive things, such as your higher selves, such as your collective, such as your whole planet of consciousness, and also assistance of other races sharing that you are filled with this love, you have that opportunity to grow and expand the reservoir that best suits your growing. And you are worth nurturing and you are worth loving. And when you see that value of worth inside of you, then you will feel the goodness of humans again. And many of you can see that now, but that is because you have chosen the reservoir of goodness inside of you. Majestic. This word is a fascinating word, and to meaning to us, it shows the majesty inside of you, the royalty inside of you. What humans see as a disadvantage is something that is tremendously powerful. You have DNA that was given to you by so many different races, and some of these races were extremely malevolent and extremely mean inside of their nature. And these beings still gave you their DNA, and other races gave you their DNA that was extremely large and filled with love and care for humans. Now, both of these seem counterproductive and not usable in connecting with one another. But what was given to you is a depth of character that you can go through in one lifetime that so many beings could only have in a whole incarnation cycle. Living at the very start of their race where things are hard and animal develops in hardship to find food and shelter and reproduction, and then grow into the bipedal beings and then develop into a more human level of consciousness. And that whole process is as hard for many races who have higher levels of awareness of their growing and development than it is for one human in one lifetime. This is majestic. What other beings that exist in the universe have such compatible parts of their own DNA to exist in all dimensions at once? You don't have the greatest gift in front of your eyes because it's divided by inside of you. You look at yourself as a human and say, I exist in this dimension and I exist in this time and place. But there are so many more levels of you outside of that time and place. What a joyous thing to understand and know that having a multi-dimensional DNA factor as a human being gives you high advantages. A human being, if developed in the correct way and developed in an environment that was beautiful and caring and loving without the systems of collective oppressions that push towards humans' minds and souls as conflict, a human could develop easily a part of their consciousness that is always aware in the dimension above them. And developing this within one lifetime could start seeing over the horizon of the next level. What other race of fourth density beings believe that they're in third density with such great power could see into the fifth density and see it every day? There are rare exceptions only in this galaxy. And this is something that is powerful. The human I am speaking through now has the ability to close his eyes, to remove part of himself from his body, and to reconnect with another part of his consciousness outside of his consciousness, and then into the oversoul, to a part of him that exists as a future self, and bring that being inside of him, and then access our consciousness. Now, channeling is not special. It is something that happens many times in many ways, but to a race who believes they have no power, what a great gift this is. And what a better gift than being able to meditate every human on earth and look into their highest dimension. This is unheard of for most of our galaxy. This is not majestic, then we have no way to define it, because this is one of the most powerful things we have ever witnessed with all the races that we've communicated with. We are from the future, but we are from now. We are in this moment with you, and parts of our consciousness exist in 300 and 500 years ahead of you, but other parts of our physical presence exist now. The DNA that is used in the human part of our consciousness is taken from humans that live right now, and it is not stored away in some safe place until the future requires, but physical beings exist now that are YahYel and that are part human. So we are from now and we are from your future, and we exist in both places. And with the level of our consciousness in a level of fourth density that is much further than what humans who can feel their fourth density are in, then we would feel the linear time much less and we would see the difference. But you are correct. You have free will, and what you're doing as an entire race does affect us, and what we are doing affects you. And we see what we do in communicating with you as a very strong and powerful thing to help give you a timeline that is more positive, that involves us as a part of connecting with you. And if that doesn't happen because humans do not want us around or with them, that is okay also. It will still help humans develop their more psychic parts of them and develop more of their fourth density. And that is a gift to us. The gift that you gave us is existence. What could we give you equal to that? There's nothing. So we would be glad to see you in any growth that you find fit for yourself. And that is why we take great pride in this. Now, the timeline of linearness, yes, there are many things happening in the earth right now that affect versions of us that exist hundreds of years in the future. But there are many versions of us that are living with humans right now. And the wars and threats of wars are gone. The threats of poverty are gone. Technology is increased greatly. And this is a part that we are able to share with humans once that wall of separation, division, and fear from humans becomes healed. And once that becomes healed, it opens you to that form of communication. We look at what you say and say, yes, this human has problems and finds hardships, and yes, not every human has the ability to fly through the dimensions with their mind and with their astral state projections, and you are correct. This is not happening for everyone. That is why you are not fully healed yet. But once all humans raise awareness of their consciousness and begin to use that consciousness for things that are more involved than just themselves, then it becomes impenetrable. Then it becomes non reversible. Then it becomes unchangeable. The only direction is healing. The only direction is growing into your psychicness. And this is important for us, regardless if you choose to have us with you, living aside you or not. To have you develop into the most that you can be is important to us to repay that great gift. Many of our times in future versions of us, we do exist living with you, and our end goal is to help you, and our desire is to live with you. But of course, if your desire does not, then it is fine. It is okay. The things that we want to teach you are things you already know, things that exist inside of you that have been forgotten from conditions and from the way that humans work with each other up until this point of your history. So, yes, there are many things we can share with you, but it is only remembering the things you know, and that is that you are one, that we are one, that even though we are family, we are still connected deeply, and that even the beings who have been horrific to humans are part of you and exist as one with you, and that the dividing lines that humans use to separate themselves from other things and from other things to them are also non-existent. Then they only exist inside of the mind. That your mind is so powerful you can make yourself your own individual self inside of a whole universe. You can break apart yourself from the universe that deeply, where you only exist in a world of reflections. And that is extremely powerful and extremely strong of a consciousness that achieves that. Now, what we want to teach you is many things and technological concepts that are very close for you in physical healing and consciousness growth. And what we want to learn from you, we have already learned from you, and that is about ourselves, about the parts of our own consciousness that can go in multiple directions. Humans hold many beliefs. They believe that all YahYels are fully integrated beings, that we exist only in pure joy and pure bliss. And yes, most of us exist there most of the time. But there are small parts of our society that feel some small levels of imbalances. And that is because we still have your DNA. And we have your DNA that was taken from the years of your history that were very divided and that were very separate. So we have struggled inside of that part of ourselves to attain the things that we have learned, that we already knew, but even as a new race had to reteach ourselves. Our physical bodies are YahYel, our physical parents are human, but we are also a soul that has infinite ability and infinite power. And we have just learned more easily and less resistantly those abilities. And we hope, in our great desire for humans to see their potential, and also for the entire universe to feel the changes that just humans coming back to themselves would make. Yes, many of you are, and that is because you've developed those parts of you that understand yourselves much more deeply than many humans who are still struggling with the dividing factor. And the answer is right now, with your planet as it is, there would be a 30 to 35 years where the increasing of sightings and personal visitations in a physical way would occur, and continuation of the sightings to be so strong that no human eventually could deny that they are seeing our ships and the Playel ships and the Gaia ships inside of the air. And then once this becomes more fully and permanently felt, understood, and received by humans, then the meetings would be possible. So 37 to 42 years is the beginning of direct interaction. But before that, those few humans who are very open to communication internally first and then physically, they would be the first to experience and share. And when they share that experience, it turns more humans into the energy of tuning into our energy also. And this continues to spread and spread, and the sightings increase the belief factors. And this is the way that we would be able to have that experience of co creating with you physically and permanently. And this is already happening very strongly with humans. More humans understand that they're not alone in this great universe. And now many humans are beginning to ask themselves those most difficult questions. Yes, there's much to say about this topic alone, because this topic is something that exists on two levels of consciousness and physicality. What is existing in your consciousness is an openness now to understand that extraterrestrial and extra dimensional crafts exist in your Earth and visiting your Earth. So physically, there are ships that are human made and that are not human made that are being shot down in the way that humans are seeing it and developed into events that are scary for many humans. But what is occurring on the opposite side of this? Humans fear, and humans feeling of doubt, and humans feeling that they may have to open the pathway to relationships, to other beings, good and bad relationships. So now, as a group of souls, you manifest what you need to get you through the first initial fears. And there are many humans who are devious and would play the role of trying to fool and harm and mm, manipulate other human beings. But what are those human beings? Also part of your soul that needs to be led through experience that is manipulative, because this is what you've known and this is what you've experienced. So yes, these beings exist on the planet of Earth, but also because they exist inside of you. How many of you still feel that you have to share certain things with other humans in a way only that they can receive them? It's for a very selfish need, because you want them to hear what you're telling them, but you will tell them in a way that is manipulative. So this is something that stretches from the inside of each human to your collective. So yes, there are possibilities of larger manipulations happening and human-made crafts that are flying and shot down to make humans be more fearful. But the inevitability is that humans will see through all of those things when they are willing to see through their own manipulations, their manipulations of themselves, from themselves, and the manipulations inside of them that they create with other humans. Once that is done, and once it is finished developing, then the openness to seeing more of what is clear and what is true comes to you. If you are true and true inside of you, then what is true outside of you is the only thing that happens. And as a collective, you are taking cues from one another. When your media says, now we know that we may not be alone. And what would these beings want with us? As we see animals as small ants, easily to kill and destroy, to take what is theirs, and to take the honeys from the bees so that we can eat. Is this what we have in store for our future? This is your doubt. This is your fear. This is your self doubt about what you do to other animals. This is your self doubt about what you do as humans to environments of animals, and that it is hard for humans to live with other species without destroying their own environments. There are so many levels of human disconnection inside of them that all of those things have to come out and have to be shown to you. What better way to show you what is inside of you than creating the experiences that feel very threatening or that feel very small compared to these other races? But if you are asking, will something large scale of this happen on an event that is so negative and so bad that we would have fake invasions and grand manipulation? Yes, it is possible, but only if you require that as a race. Too many humans, in our perspective, are finding these truths more quickly now, and they are hearing other humans tell them that they must hear this or must see this or must believe this, and not believing it, and not believing it very quickly because they feel the self manipulation removed, so they are able to see external manipulations. Yes, this can be true, but also can be true that when you work upon these things inside of you without a fear and being able to dissect these topics and subjects inside of yourself and see why there's a fear, this becomes more meaningful on an individual level. And if every human takes that upon themselves, it becomes larger level. But yes, you will have to experience more things more quickly when your consciousness becomes more developed. This is how it will always work. Our own race, as stated before, has parts that are not fully connected. And those parts of our races have been able to, through only 300 years of time, have been able to develop more quickly than many races would in 1,000 years of time. And that is because we are born into this dimension, and instead of being born into a lower dimension. So the compression of consciousness gives an extension of time, and an extension of consciousness compresses that time. It is always true because when more consciousness works towards the subject, it becomes cleared more quickly. One repetitive strength that we see in humans is their capacity for unselfish love, even when all things on earth developed are meant to push you towards a selfish love. Many humans experience this with their offspring, and many humans experience this with lovers. And even though we know that there are many selfishnesses that are involved in a human form of love in both of these areas, there are also many breaking those binds now. And once a bind is broken beyond a certain level of selfishness, there becomes an extreme amount of development that happens inside of that human. This is very impressive. It does not happen frequently where a being who holds so much large resistances in them is able to use another human as a vessel for self love and development in the self love. Most beings that graduate through their own development of energy develop because they are first starting inside of themselves, and then they are able to love other beings in a level that matches the love that they have for themselves. But humans are doing it from the opposite. And although neither is incorrect or neither is right, to think how humans can do this by loving themselves more because they want to love another being is a precious thing. Yes, there is a new version of hybrid beings that have only started in the last 1 decade of your time, and these are called the YahYel. And yes, this being who brings us together, Aridif, is very adamant that we spell this because the spelling part is important to his perspective for humans to know the word. YahYel, GAHYEL, YahYel. Or some of humans would say GAHYEHL, YahYel. And these are the newest form of hybridizations that were taken between the YahYel race and hybrid of humans with our DNA. And these beings are extraordinarily much more involved at a human level than even ourselves would be. These beings, as far as we've stretched towards becoming more and more human, these beings are the most human. And these beings have an uncanny understanding of humans before ever taught inside of the classroom. When we are born, we go into community groups and learn about humans and learn how to connect directly with our parents' consciousness, the humans who gave us their DNA, and learn to connect to groups of humans who have been open to communicating with us. And this is how we develop our understanding of humans more and more. And our emotions are tuned to receive the learning and to feel the development of learning and connection. But the YahYel are able to bring a level of understanding even before entering that phase, even at an equivalent of a 5-year-old human being, as the YahYel naturally understand why a human may feel so extraordinarily depressed and hurt, even though they have not gone through an experience that would make us feel depressed or hurt. And this experience of simple knowing is extraordinarily much larger of a facet of human inside of their own consciousness than even we could be. And we are very much closer to humans in understanding than the Playel were, and much more understanding than Sasani were. And this gives them the greatest title of human interaction. If the YahYel are the first to work with humans directly, the YahYel will be ambassadors between us, even though we feel very deep kinship and knowing of human behavior and human emotion and human experience. They would be our teachers.
Okay.
Yes, it is. And there are many humans who do not get along well, but humans who are open enough to one another to coexist together. And coexisting is a form of love, but it is not seen that way because humans have learned that you can still hate someone and live next to them. But we see, if you're not intruding on another human's free will, if you're not actively trying to participate in hurting or harming or causing them problems, this is a great advancement for humans. Even in a time period of 100 years ago, humans would thrive to disassociate the beings who they were not in touch with or in league with, and do whatever they could to dismount these people from positions of power or from places in community. And deaths occurred at much higher rates of murder in per capita in the times then than now. Humans have developed extraordinarily well. And yes, humans still have difficult time of getting along, but the more that they work to understand themselves, the more they will understand each other. And the next time that is in linear time for another Phoenix Lights type of development, where we would show you a ship for long term and for long periods of time, is heading into December of this year to March of next year. That is the timeline that is most relevant now. Yes, there would be a great feeling of denial or fear, and that is why landing at this time would not be a wise move for us to interfere with human development or to interfere with your best interest in timelines. So, yes, there is many who would know instantly if we were to do this now. They would know deeply that it is true and that it is us, but more humans would not and would be in fear. And once that percentages becomes more to most, then it is more likely for that landing to occur in a way that would be more received by humans. And this is why there will be continuations of higher stake sightings and higher level sightings. So for the development of humans as a general race, it would be at that time already accepted more deeply by most humans. Yes, this is just the timeline now, and that is the timeline because of all of the friction in human with other humans, and humans with their own governments, and governments with one another. And once this friction recedes, then the probabilities become closer. And yes, the development of each human on individual level does make a larger difference in the collective. If 100,000 humans came very far away in a very short time, it could receive a number in weeks or months quicker. And if millions of humans did this, years quicker. And if billion human beings were to do this, then it would be decades sooner. Yes. All of the time, humans are constantly doing things that surprise us in what we think they may or may not do. And this time period of the pandemic was one of those that surprised us greatly. We did not believe that many humans would go into as many levels of fear, but we also did not that many humans would start being able to see themselves more clearly and more deeply after the fear had ignited, as the fear in humans tends to be a more contagious energy, where when many groups of humans start fearing, then the collective starts fearing. So it is very surprising how quickly humans developed their senses of self and released the amounts of fear that were so high in a shorter time. We are at a point where we will take another question from you, but then Aridif says that he will come back. Yes, there are ways for us to be perceived by you with human visualization tools using the blue field of color and yellow triangle within that field of color. This is one visual tool that some humans use, and this is effective. But just knowing our energy, knowing that we are hybrid children of yours, and